What sorts of things keep you up at night? What keeps you awake? Maybe it's your to-do lists, maybe it's some regrets or relationships or creative bursts or comparisons to other people. Maybe it's what ifs about the past or what ifs about the future. Maybe it's the not sleeping spiral that keeps you up at night. Many of those things that do keep you awake can relate to stress, right? Psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens is with me. Good morning. Oh, wrong one. Here we go. That's
Good
going
morning. How are you?
morning. That's going to keep me
Morning.
up at night, Dr. Jo, not being able to press the right buttons at the right times. How does stress impact our sleep quality?
Well, stress, as we know, does disrupt our sleep, as David was just telling us, wondering and worrying about his upcoming walk, and what an incredible achievement, walking for 6 months. But we know what it does for us when we get stressed is it does increase something in our body called our cortisol levels, and that really interferes with the body's ability to relax and to fall asleep. So when we've got those elevated stress hormones being activated, it affects us in terms of how long it takes us to fall asleep. It can disrupt our sleep cycles, which many of us are aware of. The amount of deep sleep we get becomes reduced, and our REM sleep. So it becomes this really vicious cycle where we get stressed, we get worried, our sleep gets disrupted, and then sometimes we can even worry about going to sleep. So it really can have a big impact on us.
Yes, I've definitely been caught in that stressing about sleep spiral that can happen sometimes. So why is chronic stress, though, particularly harmful to our sleep?
Yeah, it probably won't surprise us that when we've got chronic stress happening in our lives, and that's something that might be bothering us right through the day as well, it keeps us almost in an alert or a hyper alert state where, extra vigilant about things that are happening for us. So no surprises there that we don't get as much melatonin developed within our bodies, which is one of those hormones that really helps us to get to sleep. So that constant arousal can lead to things like insomnia or difficulty concentrating. And it seems counterintuitive in some ways. It can make us really tired, and you would think, surely that will help me to sleep. But it almost, in fact, we don't get that quality of sleep that we were talking about before. And then, of course, there's the flow-on effects that then starts to impact us in terms of mental health issues, and they further disrupts our sleep pattern. So it really, like you said, can become something of a quite vicious cycle.
What are some of the common signs that stress is really affecting someone's sleep?
When I talk to people about this, they might find that it affects them in different ways. So for some people, it might be about difficulty falling asleep, or other people might say, look, I fall straight asleep, but then boom, 45 minutes, I'm wide awake, and then I can't get back to sleep. So for some, it's about going to sleep. For some, it's about frequently waking during the night. And it might even be just waking up and just feeling like you haven't even gone to bed, but you might have been asleep for 6 or 7 hours or 8 hours or whatever it might be. So we also know that when we're feeling the symptoms of stress, we feel muscle tension, we can have headaches, we can feel irritable. So all of those things then impact on the quality of our sleep as well.
You are hearing from psychology consultant Dr. Jo Lukens. So we have spoken a little bit about that spiral, that sometimes not falling asleep because of stress can make it hard to get to sleep or stay asleep. But then that kind of feeds into itself, like that cycle you were saying. So how can poor sleep then contribute to higher stress levels?
Yes, it's almost that chicken and egg argument, isn't it? Which way do they affect? Because we know if it impacts us in terms of our emotional regulation and how well we think, we then actually become more vulnerable to other stresses as well. The load often doesn't decrease. In fact, it actually increases. We get more cortisol in the body. We get more heightened sense of stress because of that. And then we can get into sort of more significant conditions like when we talk about burnout. Burnout is just that protracted stress that people can experience, and you really lose your ability and your capacity to manage some of the day-to-day stuff. So it's really important for people that, to understand the impacts of this, but then to also understand that fortunately there's things that you can do about it, and finding ways to get support through experiences like this.
So let's talk some of the solutions. With all of that in mind, let's talk some solutions or strategies to help break the cycle of stress and poor sleep.
So I would start with all the basics. So one of the things, if you think about what happens for those who've had children, is one of the things that you do, particularly with our babies and little ones, is we put them into a sleep routine to help them to understand that they're going to bed. And we are big babies, really. And so one of the things that adults, in many ways, so one of the things that can be really helpful for us is to have something of a, you might want a bit of flexibility with it, but something of a set routine and consistent sleep schedule. So all the basic sleep hygiene things that we know about, making the room comfortable temperature for you to sleep in, making sure that you've got dark curtains and so forth so that you can block out the light, and even having a little bit of a routine before bed, because not only does that help to reduce some of your stress levels as you're going to bed, but it starts to trigger to your body that you're about to go to sleep, just like you would do with a young child. What we want to do is we want to slow ourselves down as the evening progresses if we're going to bed at night. And what we also want to make sure that we're doing is that we are doing activities that are consistent with fatigue and going to sleep. For those that think that scrolling through their phone is a good way to disengage at the end of the day, I'm going to suggest, even if you are someone who likes to use your phone late at night, why don't we try a little science experiment and see how you go for a couple of weeks without using your phone right before bed, because I've yet to read any research to say or hear any health professionals say that's going to help you get to sleep. And I know that can be challenging, but it might be about doing some stretching routines. It might be about maybe you like a herbal tea, or everyone's going to be different in terms of what they like. But starting off, the key strategy is starting off with all those basics that we know, doing all the things that don't activate us and make our minds more alert.
Psychology consultant Dr. Jo Lukens, thank you very much for that. Takeaways from that: we're all big babies and don't use your phone just before bed.
That's right. They're the key things.
Thank you very much for your time today. And talking stress and sleep, now let's have a little relaxation for the last couple of moments of the program today.